Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friends Talk Money. I'm Pam Kruger, co-host of Money Track on public television and founder of wealthramp.com.
I'm Richard Eisenberg, a personal finance writer and editor, and formerly the editor of the Money and Work channels for the PBS site for people over 50, nextavenue.org.
And I'm Terry Savage, nationally syndicated personal finance columnist and the author of The Savage Truth on Money.
We're three friends who like to talk money and all the issues that come with it.
On this podcast, we're trying to help you understand your personal finances
to get you and your retirement on the right path for true financial peace of mind.
Well, we are definitely approaching the holiday season, and many of you are grandparents or parents thinking about what kind of gifts you're going to give to members of your family, especially the younger generation. And we all three of us agree that though it's great to give toys, it's great to give games, it's great to give, not so great to give clothing, but anyway, all the things you traditionally wrap and put under the tree or give as gifts for the holiday season, the ones that last the longest are the gifts that not only give money, but teach about money or put money to a good purpose. So we thought we'd do a quick little wrap up for you about some ideas that you might have and put in place now for holiday gifting for your children or grandchildren, especially. Pam, Richard, you want to say something about this whole concept of financial gifts?
We would not be a podcast about money and life. We weren't talking about how to turn the holidays into an excuse to teach our kids about, or our nieces and nephews about, saving, managing, and investing money. It's all about education. It's a matter of how do you get creative.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a really good time if you're going to be together with family members, kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews. If you can, take a few minutes and just talk with them about what that could be helpful for them in their lives that relates to investing, the stock market, just the basics of that, and what happened this year. A little bit about taxes, maybe a little bit about budgeting and debt. Not a big, long lecture, but maybe just enough. Maybe you can split it over some meals. I just think it pays dividends over the long term.
Okay, well, let me start with a couple of them because we're going to give you some gift ideas that go in along with that theme. Now, we all agree. The first, this too, the first and most obvious and absolute best gift is opening a 529 college savings plan. We've talked about this before. Money you put into that plan grows tax-free for college in any state, any school for your child or grandchild. They get to choose the school down the road, but the money all comes out tax-free. Now, you don't have to be an investment genius to open one of these accounts because typically, although they're put under each state has its own plan, the money can be used in any state's, any school. But they always have an account that says age-based, which says if your newly born grandchild, all you need is a social security number, you put the money in, and they invest more aggressively, knowing they've got 18 or 20 more years before this money is growing. And then they become more conservative as your child approaches or grandchild approaches college. Now, again, you can invest in any state's plan, but some states, Illinois, for example, gives a tax deduction against state income taxes for the first $10,000 of your contribution. By the way, the best thing about one of these plans is once you open it for that baby or even that young child, every birthday, in addition to the toy or the whatever, you can add more money. It's just such an easy gift idea. If you want, by the way, you want to be very generous, each grandparent could give as much as $16,000 to each grandchild. That's a whole lot of money. If you're really wealthy, here's an estate tax planning idea. You could combine, in this one case, up to 5 years of the allowable $16,000 gift at once to really jumpstart a college education. Or most plans will let you start with a couple of $100 and you can put money in again whenever you want to. To learn more about how these plans work, there's just one great website. It not only ranks the plans on their past performance, so you can get into a plan that's very well run, but it also has direct links so you can open an account. Just go to savingforcollege.com, www.savingforcollege.com. Pam, you're nodding. I know you're a believer in these.
Yeah, and I also think that putting it in the context of saving for college, in the context of holiday time and gifts, most people are not going to connect those dots. They're going to be thinking about these are two separate things, but combining them and thinking about how you can contribute to a loved one, to a younger person, and help with their funding their education. I mean, that's just such the gift that keeps on giving. So to piggyback onto that, and help anybody who's interested in opening a 529 plan and giving the gift to someone else, is the first thing I would want to do is recommend buying a great gift that tells you how to pay for college, with Ron Lieber's book, which I love, called The Price You Pay for College. Ron is a columnist at the New York Times. I'm sure you've heard his name. And he dug into this himself for his own personal reasons, and now he's a guru on how to take advantage of everything that's out there to help cover the cost of college. So the book itself becomes a great gift in addition
for your adult children, because they have to know how to think about college.
Right.
And this is a great book. I wrote a column about it. It was out just earlier this year.
Yeah.
If you have adult children with 2 and 3 and 4-year-old grandchildren who are going to get into this game of what school are they getting into and read Ron Lieber's book. It's called The Price You Pay for College. There's a unanimous recommendation.
Can I say one thing about 529 plans?
Sure.
So, until recently, I mean, really recently, there was what was called the financial aid trap for grandparents who are going to be putting money into 529 plans. And what would happen is, because of the way the rules were written, if a grandparent gave money and put money into a 529 for a grandchild, that could reduce the amount of financial aid that grandchild was going to get. But the rules just changed, and that's going to be effective for the 2023-2024 school year in a good way. So now grandparents are not going to be penalized. Their grandchildren are not going to be penalized. It's not going to have that kind of an effect on financial aid. So I would say, if you're a grandparent and you were thinking about putting money into a 529 for your grandkid, but you didn't want to hurt their chances for financial aid, you don't need to worry about that anymore going into the future.
Yeah. We used to say it's a custodian, but now, and by the way, you don't want to give money or gifts, financial gifts, most of the time in a Uniform Gift to Minors Act account, because that will weigh heavily. That's considered. And I have one more thing to tell you.
No, but Terry, go back and explain the big risk there in doing that. I think that's important to point out.
Well, I was gonna come up in my next idea, but if you put money in a Uniform Gift to Minors Act for a child, then if they do apply for financial aid, it weighs about 7 times more heavily against you because it's considered a child's asset. I'll give you the one exception to my thinking on that in a minute, but I want to tell you one more thing about 529s. First of all, if one child gets a scholarship and doesn't use the money, it can be given to any other child in the family that be used by someone else. So don't worry about that. And second of all, if your grandchild turns out to be a jerk, or if you really need the money, you can take that money back with by paying a 10% penalty, kind of like an IRA thing, and all ordinary income taxes on all the gains. So you could get the money back. They should be nice to you. Okay,
they don't behave the way you want them to behave, you can rescind it. Okay, good to know. It's good to know. Policy. It's the holidays. You can return it.
But again, one kid gets a scholarship for one reason or another. Any other grandchild in the family,
Yeah.
All right, now this is one of my favorite things. I really think it makes a difference if a child does own some stock. So remember, I warned you about accumulating too much in assets in a custodial account for a child. But I remember when I first went to work in a brokerage firm, I can remember the exact portfolio my grandfather had. He used to call every day and give me his stocks, and I would push on what was then a Quotron machine. This is a long, long time ago, when I was in school and I went to work in a brokerage firm for extra money. And his portfolio was of Colt Industries, Greyhound. I remember that. I think what kids learn from their parents and grandparents is really important. I think you might want to buy them a few shares of stock in a company that they get. It might not be your idea. So if they're enamored with Tesla or McDonald's or Disney or Amazon or whatever their hot stock is, whatever product they use, with their Nike, that's the shoes they want. you could buy them fractional shares, create an account, and it's really easy to do. There are a couple of, you can probably do this at your brokerage firm at Schwab or Fidelity through a custodial account, but the one that has both gift cards that you can actually have sent by email to your grandchild where they get to pick stocks is called Stockpile, stockpile.com, STOCKPILE.com. Go to that website. They just recently switched to a subscription model. So for $4.95 a month, you can open one adult account and 5 kids accounts. So they're virtually buying stock for free. And they are absolutely educational, interesting, and the account opening is really simple. You make yourself or the parent is custodian. Check it all out at stockpile.com. Yes, it's a custodial account with money in the kid's name, but I think the benefits of getting them interested. Well, I want to sell that one now. I'm not wearing Nikes anymore. I'm in Adidas now. Whatever it is, it gives you lots to talk about with your grandchildren. So stockpile.com is the way to do that.
Terry, can I just mention, as you were talking about stocks and some of those particular stocks, it made me think a bunch of those stocks are really depressed in price right now compared to where they were a year or two ago. So this could be a really great time to be buying stocks like that for your child or grandchild because the prices are lower. But it's also a great time to be talking to your kids about the volatility of the stock market. And while you're at it, the volatility of crypto and Bitcoin, because we've seen what's happened in that market too. You know, tech stocks have had a pretty rough year, and yet a lot of those stocks are the kinds that your kids and grandkids might be interested in because they're so familiar with them. So it's a good time to talk about how those kinds of stocks can go up and down a lot.
Yeah, if they think metaverse is going to be here forever, then this is be a great time to buy Facebook. I don't
Great
get it, but
example.
get it.
I'm going to tell you something funny. I've mentored a couple. I don't have kids of my own, and I've mentored my friends' kids. And one child in particular started at 11 years old, Cam. And for a holiday gift, his dad said, I'm going to put $2,000 into an account. And going forward, when you make your little money doing your little side jobs, you're going to contribute, explained how together they will invest together in this custodial account for benefit of this child, Cam. So the first thing he said was, well, Cam, what do you think you're interested in? Thinking he probably wants some tech stock or something. He says, McDonald's. He's 11 years old. Say, McDonald's. Why McDonald's, Cam? He says, because it says right on the sign, over 1 billion burgers sold every day. This is how kids connect the dots. So the gift of opening a custodial account, even with the caveat emptor about what custodial accounts can mean down the road and so forth, it's still as a learning tool, and to gift it and put it into their hands to make their decision about why. Why do you like that company? And then he learned there were companies that he liked, but they weren't publicly traded. So you see at a very young age, he's starting to get introduced to the idea of publicly traded stocks, dividend paying stocks. So by the time he was about 17, he had $25,000. Now this is not so good for financial aid, but he ended up, accumulating this, and it gave him a sense of confidence about investing that jump-started his whole education in financial literacy.
I love it. I love it. That's the right story. All right, let me give you 2 quickies. One for younger children. This is for 5 or 6 year olds, I think. Okay. It's a piggy bank, but it's unlike any piggy bank you've ever seen. It's called the Money Savvy Piggy Bank. It's a translucent plastic piggy bank, comes in 4 or 5 colors. So if you have a bunch of young grandchildren, you can give them out. And it has 4 chambers, 4 little slots that you can see the money accumulate in. So they can make decisions. One is for saving, one is for spending, one is for donate. It says donate. And the other one says invest. And it teaches little children that they're not just putting all that money away, which is a good thing anyway, but to think about it. Some of it might go to the church plate on Sundays. Some of it might go for spending if they're saving up to buy whatever it is. But these set goals. So the Money Savvy Piggy Bank is available at moneysavvy.com for $21.99 plus shipping. It's also, you can find it on Amazon. The Money Savvy Piggy Bank.
It's that blue piggy bank, right?
It's blue or pink or red, and it's got all the different shapes.
That's great.
big, it spits on the shelf and it's got little 4 chambers and 4 holes to take the money out for various things. I
Yeah.
love it. Money Savvy Piggy Bank. It's on Amazon or moneysavvy.com.
Yeah.
I want,
I was just, you're giving your kids a boatload of gifts, if you're fortunate enough to do that, or you're giving them a few, you're not just giving them one gift. So this doesn't have to be the only gift you're giving them, but to add into your gifts, the one that helps jumpstart their financial literacy, this piggy bank is a great idea.
Now, here's one other thing. A lot of people ask me about. I won't spend too much time on it because if you go to terrysavage.com, there's a thing called Everything You Must Know About Savings Bonds. And a lot of you know about them because the astounding rates of 9.62% ended October 30th, but they still pay 6.89% for the next 6 months. And besides which, when I was young, everybody gave savings bonds. You gave a paper bond. It was a $25 bond, which you paid a discounted rate for, and it looked like they were giving you a lot of money, and then you cashed them in. Everything is electronic today. But if you did open an account at treasurydirect.gov to buy savings bonds, you can also buy, and you're limited to $10,000 a year. Otherwise, everybody would have taken all their money to get that 9.62. That's only for 6 months. The current 6 months is 6.89. You have to hold them for at least a year to avoid, you must hold them for a year. And if you have to hold them for 5 years to avoid a 3-month interest penalty. But for your purposes about these gifts, they have something called a gift box. And even if you already bought your whole 10,000 for this year, you can buy gift bonds and keep them in your gift box in your account at treasurydirect.gov. And you can put the child's social security number on it. So you could buy savings bonds for a child or grandchild. All of this is in an article at terrysavage.com called Everything You Must Know About Savings Bonds. But it didn't go away, that old-fashioned great idea. And now that the rates are higher because they adjust every 6 months for
Yeah, it's a real gift.
they're a pretty good idea. Okay. Who else has one? What did I forget?
I do. So another good idea would be considering getting a book for your child. And I'm thinking about a child in their teens or 20s or 30s, maybe even, about money. And there's lots of them out there and a lot of good ones out there. But one of my favorites, there's actually a series by a woman who calls herself Broke Millennial, which I love. Her real name is Erin Lowry. And she wrote her first book, Broke Millennial, a few years ago. And it was all about she was this broke millennial and trying to figure out money for herself. And she got educated. And since then, she's written 2 other books. One's called Broke Millennial Takes on Investing, and one is called Broke Millennial Talks Money. And I think the 3 of them together might be a nice gift package for somebody, a child, a grandchild in their teens, possibly 20s, 30s for sure. They're really easy to read. And Erin now writes for Bloomberg. She writes for the Bloomberg Opinion part of the Bloomberg site. So if you think your child might be interested in reading what she has to write, she's typically writing about personal finances for younger people. You could get a subscription to bloomberg.com. They have a student rate for $9.99 a month, which is a pretty good deal.
That's nice. I've got one more to throw in to the gift bag here. And that is that, again, kind of following on to Richard's age group right now, thinking about teenagers and getting to college. You want a gift that's for the parent and the child. It's a digital tool. You can pay for it for your child, called You Need a Budget. I've heard from young people over and over. I've tested this long enough now to be able to tell you that the number one quote that I hear from them, the young people who are using You Need a Budget, is, it changed my life. Because what it does for both the parent and the child is it really gives them a reason to want to have a budget and to understand that their money, back to the piggy bank, kind of takes it from the piggy bank and how you think about saving your money and what you do with your money and philanthropy. And it kind of takes it to the next level and graduates to, well, what's a budget? And why am I scared? Why should I be scared of it? You shouldn't be scared of it. And You Need a Budget, or ynab.com. Just go there. It's really inexpensive to actually, subscribe to it and participate. It's like a Mint, but I actually like it better because of the feedback that I get from the actual younger people who are using it to create a budget.
Wait, so it's a website, YNABYouNeedABudget.com. And when you get there, are you downloading something or are you just following along?
Are
or what?
using it like an app. You know, it's
It's an app.
it's an
So-
app. But it
go to
costs a little bit of money. It's not expensive, but if you pay for it as a gift, it's just a way of using it to get your child to get really starting to use a budget without you having to tell them to do it. And it's a gift.
So
that's-
it's in the App Store is YNAB.
Yeah, and we'll have that in the show notes. We'll have
Okay.
all of these gifts in the
All
show
right.
notes.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up with one last gift. This is a gift you can give to your grown-up adult children, parents of all those grandchildren, and to yourself as well. If you, and I don't sell anything. I don't take any clicks, advertising anything on my website, terrysavage.com. I answer questions there and I post my columns and some other important stuff. And on the top right-hand corner is a box, or there are 4 boxes. One box says, find your trusted financial advisor, and it will take you right to Pam Kruger's Wealth Ramp site and explain it. Right. Okay. The other one says your personal financial organizer. It's about a 4-page form that you can print out. You can print out as many copies as you want. You can actually fill it out online on your computer and then print it out. But you want to fill out blank forms. It will be a guide to what have you done to organize your life, where you don't have to tell your children what you're giving them in your estate plan. But they deserve to know who's your lawyer, who's your doctor, where are all these important phone numbers, where are your credit cards, by the way, and the account numbers and the toll-free number to call if you're incapacitated, horrible accident, stroke, something like that. You will leave this someplace where your trusted adult child or children can find it. And print out some blank forms. Because how are you going to tell your 40-something kids, you guys haven't done an estate plan, have you? Well, none of your business. Yes, it is. Those are my grandchildren. I want to make sure you're organized. So either give them the gift of an estate plan. Well, that's a great gift. I did that to my son and daughter-in-law a number of years ago. Or give them the form to fill out and they'll realize they don't have a cemetery deed, but you do, and yours is in yours. You'll let them know where they can find yours. Don't put it in your safe deposit box, because one of the questions is, do you have a safe deposit box and where's the key and who's on it? So personal financial organizer form, the gift of organization is sort of priceless. Has any last words?
You triggered me on one thing about the holidays, gifts. You know, the conversation starting with the parent down to the adult child, but don't be surprised if over the holidays your adult children bring up the topic with you and say, hey, Mom and Dad, where is all the stuff I need to know since we're together over the holidays?
It's all in a form in my top left-hand drawer. Richard, any last thoughts?
No, I think you said it all.
Right. We all want to wish, we thank you for being with us throughout the year. We have a great time doing these podcasts. We think about you and who you are and what you might be interested in. And do you have any ideas for podcasts you want? My email is probably the easiest to remember. It's terry@terrysavage.com. Just put the word podcast in the headline. And we come up with ideas that we think you'll like, but we'd like to hear from you.
And tell your friends, if you love the podcast, to subscribe.
That was a good gift.
That's a gift to us. It's a gift to you.
We love it. Wishing you all the very, very happiest of holidays. And we'll be back with more Friends Talk Money as the months and years go by. Thank you.
Friends Talk Money is funded in part by a grant from the Investor Protection Trust. The IPT is a nonprofit organization devoted to investor education. Since 1993, the IPT has worked with the states to provide the independent, objective investor education needed by all Americans to make informed investment decisions. Visit investorprotection.org. We also receive support from the North American Securities Administrators Association, known as NASA. It's the oldest international investor protection organization. NASA's members include state and provincial securities regulators from the U.S., Canada, and Mexico who serve on the front lines of investor protection. Recognizing that education and awareness are powerful tools in the fight against investment fraud, NASA is pleased to sponsor Friends Talk Money. Here are 3 important tips to help you protect your money from fraud. With investing, there are always risks, so be cautious of anybody telling you that a certain investment is guaranteed. You should also proceed with caution if somebody is promising very large investment returns. This is a common red flag for investment fraud. Last and most importantly, be sure you're working with a licensed or registered financial professional. You can check your advisor and make sure they're licensed by visiting brokercheck.finra.org. NASA is your partner in keeping you safe and helping you avoid investment frauds. Visit nasa.org and click on the Investor Education tab to learn more.